15 bizarre American tractors you won't believe exist. Just hearing that might bring back memories of old fields, dusty barns, and the hands-on grit of fixing machinery. That's our focus today. Some of the most unconventional farm vehicles from the storied 1900s. Each one carried a unique design, innovative twist, or downright surprising quirk. Are you ready to relive a slice of farming nostalgia? Well, let's shift gears and discover what made these oddball American tractors truly stand out. Number 15. The J.I. Case 150 HP steam traction engine in 1905. In an era when tractors were still a novelty, the J.I. Case threshing machine company rolled out something that looked more like a locomotive than any farm vehicle that we would recognize today. This mechanical behemoth, often just called the Case 150, was a steam traction engine boasting a jaw-dropping 150 horsepower rating, which was massive for the early 1900s. Only a handful of units were ever built, making it something of a legend among vintage machinery buffs. Measuring around 25 feet long and weighing over 14 tons, it could command respect in any field it entered. The boiler system, fueled by wood or coal, powered huge drive wheels capable of hauling massive threshing rigs across farmland. While steam traction engine might sound clunky, in its time this was cutting-edge technology. A single operator controlled the boiler pressure, water levels, and engine speed, carefully balancing power to ensure everything ran smoothly. Though labor-intensive to maintain, imagine constantly shoveling fuel and monitoring steam gauges, but there was something undeniably majestic about seeing it chug along. It reflected America's transition from horse-drawn power into the mechanical age. Even if you never had a chance to see one operate, knowing it was the largest steam tractor Case ever built offers a special thrill for any enthusiast looking back on the golden age of steam. Number 14, the Roomley Oil Pole from 1909 to 1931. Introduced in 1909 by the Advanced Roomley Company, the Roomley Oil Pole brought an entirely different approach to power. While many tractors of the day ran on gasoline or were still steam-powered, this machine earned its name from a distinctive kerosene-based system known as oil pull technology. At its heart was a heavy, low RPM engine that used a unique cooling technique that involved oil in the crankcase, which allowed it to tolerate lower grades of fuel. To see one in action was to witness a steam-era design outfitted for a new generation of liquid fuel engines. Like many machines in the early 1900s, the oil pull was bulky, with towering steel wells that sometimes featured lugs for traction on softer ground. Its massive flywheel and cast-iron construction gave it an industrial, almost intimidating presence, as if it had been plucked from the factory floor and sent to the fields. Owners appreciated the oil pull's straightforward design and rugged construction. The continuous load nature of its large engine allowed farmers to harness heavy pulling power for tasks like plowing, threshing, and hauling. Despite the engine's old-fashioned look, the kerosene setup often made for a more economical solution, especially in regions where gasoline was pricier. Over time, competition and evolving technology overtook the oil pull's novelty, but it remains an iconic piece of tractor history, symbolizing the transitional phase between steam and modern internal combustion. Number 13, the Moline Universal D. If you're looking for a tractor that almost defies description, the Moline Universal D is a prime candidate. Introduced around 1917 by the Moline Plow Company, it didn't resemble traditional farm equipment so much as a motorized implement frame, seat and steering mounted way behind the power unit. The idea was to offer a multi-purpose machine that could handle various attachments while maintaining consistent traction and balance. At a glance, you'd see a large single frame connecting the front angle assembly to a two-wheeled tractor portion, with the operator perched behind on another axle. This design aimed to reduce the turning radius and allow easy switching of implements like mowers, planters, or cultivators. It also was pitched as an all-in-one solution for small to medium farms. However, in practice, some farmers found the positioning a bit awkward. Maneuvering it took a knack, and the tall steel wheels didn't always offer the smoothest ride. Yet the Moline Universal D was also lauded for its forward-thinking engineering. Farmers could attach multiple implements without completely reconfiguring the machine, a time saver in the days when you did most tasks by hand or with mules. Unfortunately, mechanical complexity and competition from simpler designs led to its decline by the mid-1920s. Still, for those who value unusual solutions and creative design, the Moline Universal D holds a cherished spot in the annals of American tractor lore. But before we move on to the next one in the list, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you're enjoying the content so far, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. over 98% of you watched the video without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed, or even half. Hey, it costs you nothing, but it makes a big difference to us. Thank you for all that do. Number 12, the Bull Tractor. A brand named simply the Bull might suggest raw power, and to some extent, that was the promise here. Manufactured by the Bull Tractor Company in Minneapolis, this little contraption was surprisingly small compared to many of its contemporaries. It came about during an era when farmers were cautiously transitioning from horse-drawn equipment to mechanized power, so a compact, relatively affordable tractor was a welcome sight. The Bull featured a single front wheel set slightly off-center, with two larger drive wheels at the rear. This third wheel layout was meant to replicate a horse's single furrow track in the front and to reduce the turning radius. Weighing in at about 2,000 pounds, it was advertised as the little bull that could handle an array of farm tasks, plowing, planting, or hauling on smaller acreages. Its low-cost design won the hearts of some farmers who needed an entry-level machine to break away from the unpredictability of a draft animal. Yet the Bull also earned criticism for stability issues on uneven ground and for mechanical components that showed wear after continuous heavy use. Despite the drawbacks, it's a testament to the experimental spirit of the early 1900s. Manufacturers were trying everything that they could to get farmers to switch to modern horsepower. The Bull remains a symbol of that pioneering phase, reminding us just how many shapes and sizes early tractors could take. Number 11, the Happy Farmer. With a name like Happy Farmer, you might picture a simple, cheerful contraption puttering around the back 40. Built by the La Crosse Tractor Company, this machine was designed to lighten the workload and perhaps put a smile on the operator's face. In truth, it was somewhat an unconventional tractor with a peculiar stance. The rear-wheel drives were set at different diameters and track widths to better handle plowing tasks. Powered by a two-cylinder engine in its earliest models, the Happy Farmer was supposed to be easier to handle than more complicated rivals. It also boasted a friction drive system, an approach that avoided traditional gearing by using friction discs, handy for quickly adjusting speed ranges. However, friction drive systems were often finicky under a heavy load, leading to slipping and wear if not carefully maintained. Owners found that while the track's name evoked a carefree image, managing the unique drive wheels and friction discs was anything but straightforward. Still, if you operated it on flatter fields and remembered its limitations, you could enjoy a reliable platter for basic chores. Production eventually wound down when more conventional designs prevailed. For those who love the old iron, the Happy Farmer remains a quirky piece of Americana that perfectly encapsulates the innovative and sometimes odd spirit of early tractor manufacturing. Number 10, the CLETrak Model F. Long before continuous tracks became the gold standard for heavy equipment, the Cleveland Tractor Company, also shortened to CLETrak, introduced the Model F to prove just how valuable track-laying technology could be. Debuting in 1917, the CLETrak Model F sported a four-cylinder engine and a pair of robust tracks that allowed it to crawl across challenging terrains with ease. Compared to larger steam traction engines, it was relatively small, yet its mobility in mud or loose soil won over farmers aiming for maximum traction. The CLETrak Model F excelled at pulling plows and heavy farm implements without getting bogged down. Though maintaining those steel tracks required faithful lubrication and the occasional tension adjustment, many owners found the reliability was well worth the effort. Mechanically, its design was straightforward: a sturdy frame, a dependable engine, and a track system that distributed its weight evenly across the ground. Over the years, CLETrak's early foray into track vehicles not only influenced farm equipment, but also paved the way for future developments in military and construction machinery. Seeing one of these vintage crawlers today is a glimpse into the bold engineering choices that forever changed how we harness horsepower in the field. Number 9, the Bates Steel Mule. In 1919, the Bates Machine and Tractor Company introduced the Steel Mule, a name that instantly hinted at its mission: replace the draft mule with rugged mechanical power. While early tractors were bulky or steam-driven, the Bates line came with the promise of innovative track designs that boosted traction and minimized compaction. Some models featured a half-track setup at the rear, paired with a conventional front axle, an unusual fusion that drew curious glances wherever it appeared. Powered by gasoline engines, typically in the 10 to 20 horsepower range, the Steel Mule was compact enough for smaller farms, yet surprisingly capable when it came to pulling. In an era when farmland conditions could vary widely, from dense clay to sandy loam, having the added grip of tracks could be a game changer, especially in the muddy seasons. With its moderate size, the Steel Mule appealed to the broader audiences, maybe more than some of the huge steam or oil tractors that dominated the headlines at the time. Maintenance did pose a challenge, though. The track components required diligent cleaning and lubrication, and replacement parts weren't always easy to find once Bates merged with other companies. Even so, many farmers swore by the steel mule's sure-footedness. Today, spotting one at a vintage equipment show feels like stepping back in time when manufacturers were racing to find any mechanical edge. The Bates steel mule stands out in that crowd for us as an unusually hybrid design, bridging the gap between the old horse-drawn era and the unstoppable march of mechanized agriculture. Number 8. The John Deere Spoker D. The John Deere Model D is legendary in its own right, as it launched the brand's iconic run of two-cylinder tractors. Yet the early version, colloquially called the Spoker D, have a particular mystique. Built between 1923 and 1925, they sported an open-spoke flywheel, reminiscent of a giant wagon wheel spinning beside the operator's seat. The design was partly to reduce the flywheel's weight and maintain easy hand-cranking access, but it also gave the tractor a decidedly old-timey look. Powered by a two-cylinder horizontal engine, often nicknamed the Johnny Popper for its chugging exhaust note, the Spoker D was rugged and relatively straightforward. It delivered around 15 horsepower on the drawbar, enough for many tasks on small to mid-sized farms. However, the open-spoke flywheel could accumulate mud or debris if fields were especially muddy, and it required extra caution since it was essentially a big rotating piece of metal in the open air. John Deere soon replaced the spoke design with a solid flywheel for safety and durability reasons, making the Spoker D relatively scarce. Collectors prized them for their historical significance and for the nostalgia factor of seeing that iconic spoked wheel spin in the fields. Even if you never had the chance to grab that spoke flywheel to start the engine on a chilly morning, hearing that distinct pop, pop, pop idle is a quick reminder of how far tractor engineering has come. Number 7. The EmersonBrantingham Big Four. Originally designed by the gas traction company, the Big Four tractor line was acquired by Emerson-Brantingham, who continued producing these giants into the 1910s. The nickname Big Four referred to its four-cylinder engine, which provided formidable power for the era, upward of 60 drawbar horsepower in some versions. Sporting enormous steel wheels and a heavy, high-clearance frame, it quickly garnered a reputation as a brute force machine. Weighing close to 20,000 pounds in certain configurations, the Big Four dwarfed many of its early gas-powered competitors. The purpose was clear: tackle massive wheat fields in the Great Plains and handle tough tasks like breaking prairie sod or pulling multiple bottom plows. Operating one was no small feat. Managing the massive flywheel startup, plus regular lubrication points scattered around the chassis, made it a job best suited for mechanical-minded operators. Yet the Big Four's imposing bulk, it wasn't just for show. It provided the traction to haul heavier implements and handle tough terrain. The tractor is somewhat legendary in communities that were used to less powerful offerings. Though more refined and smaller designs eventually did take center stage, the Big Four remains a hulking, unforgettable chapter in tractor history. One that points to the willingness of early manufacturers to build bigger and stronger in their quest to unseat steam power and conquer the vast American farmland. Number 6, the Fordson Snow Motor. Now, one of the strangest versions you might see rolling or sliding across a snowy field is the Fordson Snow Motor. In the early 20th century, Fordson tractors were a major hit, but tackling winter terrain remained a challenge. Enter the Snow Motor conversion. Developed by Armstead Snow Motors, a pair of helical auger-like drums replaced the rear wheels, while the front axle featured either skis or additional smaller augers. The concept works similarly to modern snow grooming machines. The large cylindrical augers grip the snow and ice by rotating, propelling the tractor forward in conditions where regular wheels would just spin helplessly. On paper, it was genius. Farmers in the north, or loggers hauling loads through snow-covered forests, saw the potential. Promotional films in the era show these conversions gliding across frozen terrain as if it was nothing. However, the system was expensive, bulky, and a real hassle to install. The specialized design meant that it wasn't practical for year-round use, so only relatively few were sold. When better rubberized tracks and half-track conversions emerged, the Fordson Snow Motor fell into obscurity. Today, it's a fascinating relic, part of the bold wave of experimentation that tried to solve winter mobility before modern tracks became common. If you ever see footage of one in motion, it's nothing short of mesmerizing. Number 5, the Chalmers Model G. Designed with truck farmers and specialty crop growers in mind, the Chalmers Model G turned tractor design on its head. Literally. With its 4-cylinder Continental engine mounted behind the driver, it offered a clear, unobstructed view of the road just ahead, perfect for cultivating vegetables or similar intensive crops. Rather than stare over a bulky engine hood, operators could watch the implement at work in real time. The Model G's lightweight frame and small wheels were ideal for tasks that required finesse. It produced roughly 10 horsepower at the drawbar, which was modest but sufficient for specialized planting, cultivating, and gardening. The real star was the unique layout, implements attached under the belly, making them easy to monitor and adjust. This was a boon for anyone who needed surgical precision, like row spacing in tight vegetable beds. However, its relatively narrow use case limited mass adoption, especially when bigger multi-purpose tractors became more affordable. Still, the G built a loyal following among small acreage farmers who appreciated its efficient design, and even modern homesteaders sometimes seeked out restored units. Whether you love it for its practicality or just admire the unconventional shape, the Model G stands as an enduring reminder of Alice Chalmers' willingness to break the mold in search of a better idea. Number 4, the Holt 75. Before Caterpillar became the colossal brand that we know, one of its forerunners, the Holt Manufacturing Company, produced the Holt 75, a track-laying tractor that redefined heavy hauling during the early 1900s. Introduced around 1913, it was essentially a tank without the armor, boasting large, continuous tracks that let it crawl across mud and rugged terrain where wheeled tractors would flounder. Powered by a 4-cylinder gasoline engine producing around 75 brake horsepower, the Holt 75 was used extensively in agriculture and construction projects, and even saw duty pulling artillery in World War I. Its massive radiator and exposed track gave it an unmistakable silhouette, one that signaled pure, unadulterated muscle. Operators quickly learned the benefits of tracks: better traction, reduced ground pressure, and the ability to work in unfavorable conditions without getting stuck. Though maintenance was more involved, tracks required regular cleaning, lubrication, and tension adjustments, but the payoff was well worth it for farmers and contractors needing reliable power. Over time, the lessons learned from the Holt 75's track system helped shape modern Caterpillar-style tractors. The name Holt may have faded into history after merging with the Caterpillar Tractor Company, but you could argue that Holt 75 lit the spark that transformed tractor design for generations to come. Number 3, Moline Unitractor. Though Minneapolis Moline is best remembered for classic row crop tractors, the company also experimented with modular farm equipment in the 1960s. Enter the Moline Unitractor, part of the Unisystem, which let farmers purchase one power unit and then attach different modules, like a harvester, a combine head, or even a forage chopper, depending on the season and the task. The core tractor portion sat at the front, with modular components hooking onto the rear. The goal was to eliminate the need to own multiple specialized machines. By swapping out modules, you could transform your Unitractor from a corn picker to a combine in a matter of hours. This approach saved space in the barn. It reduced upfront equipment costs and made mechanical upkeep more centralized. On paper, it sounded like the ultimate multi-tool for agriculture. However, mastering all of the attachments took practice, and the modules themselves were large investments. While some farmers did love the concept, others felt it was too complicated compared to separate, dedicated units. Additionally, if the power unit had mechanical issues, your entire operation could grind to a halt. Even so, the Moline Unitractor stands out as a creative attempt to streamline farming. It symbolizes a forward-thinking spirit, a reminder that American tractor design often pushed boundaries to see if a single machine could do it all. Number 2, the Caterpillar 60. Now, one look at the Caterpillar 60 and you'll instantly sense its tough-as-nails pedigree. Released in 1925 by the newly formed Caterpillar Tractor Company, born from the merger of Holt and Best Tractor brands, the 60 pioneered the use of continuous tracks for improved traction on soft or rugged terrain. While track-laying tractors weren't entirely new, Caterpillar perfected the design, earning a reputation for unstoppable pulling power. Powered by a 4-cylinder gasoline engine that produced around 60 horsepower, hence the name, the 60 was a heavy beast, often tipping the scales at over 20,000 pounds with certain configurations. Where wheeled tractors might sink or lose grip, the 60's long tracks distributed its weight, allowing to haul implements through muddy fields and across uneven ground. This made it popular in road construction, logging, and large-scale farming, especially out west. The 60's signature design featured a massive radiator up front and a low-profile driver's seat behind the hood. Mechanically, it was relatively straightforward, but built to handle big-time stress. Farmers soon discovered that it could replace teams of mules or multiple smaller tractors. By blending raw power with track technology, Caterpillar ushered in a new era of heavy-duty equipment. It might not have the whimsical looks of some oddball designs, but seeing a Caterpillar 60 crawling across a farmland in the 1920s was a scene that signaled just how profoundly technology could reshape agriculture. Number 1. The Big Bud 747. Now there's big, and then there's the Big Bud 747. Built in 1977 by Northern Manufacturing in Havre, Montana, it's widely regarded as the world's largest farm tractor. Weighing in at over 100,000 pounds when fully loaded and stretching nearly 28 feet in length, the colossal four-wheel drive machine was originally custom ordered for deep ripping on a California cotton farm. Over the decades, it's become an icon of American agricultural might. At its heart lies a massive Detroit diesel 16 V92T engine, which is capable of pumping out over 760 horsepower. In optimal conditions, the Big Bud can pull giant cultivators up to 80 feet wide, letting it cover acres in mere minutes. Looking at photos or standing beside it at a tractor show can leave you speechless. Pictures alone fail to capture the sheer size. Over the years, it's been used on various large farms, typically in the northern plains, where sprawling fields make use of such power. But despite its imposing size, the Big Bud 747 is surprisingly simple in design. Mechanical components are just large-scale versions of standard tractor parts, making it more straightforward to maintain than you'd think. Its owners often mention that, aside from its enormous proportions, the 747 is no fuss to operate. Even so, you'll need the land and the wallet to justify this beast. It endures as a testament to American ingenuity, proving that if you can dream it, someone out there will build it. Hey, these 15 bizarre American tractors showcase the boundless creativity and can-do spirit that shaped 20th century farming. From eccentric steam behemoths to track-laying workhorses, they remind us that progress often comes from trying something new, even if it looks downright strange. We hope you found the video helpful, and if these stories stirred your own memories or maybe fueled a new passion, be sure to subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming next as we continue our journey through America's mechanical past. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on our next one.